Call the meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Minutes of the previous meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any additions or corrections to the minutes? Excuse me. Seeing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Agenda, anything to add? Seeing none, I guess I'd take a motion to approve it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Roger, morning.
Got some, want to purchase some tables for the memorial building. I got two separate, bids here, so to speak. One from Southern Aluminum for $481 per table, but there is shipping added on for 10 tables, so it comes to $543.43. And from another company here, what it is, Modern Office, and their price would be $7,890 for 10 tables. So, if you look closely on that Modern Office, that table down there, that's a Southern Aluminum logo that's on that table. So they just purchased them from Southern Aluminum and resell them.
You can read that?
I recognize the logo. It isn't as good here as my original copy, but this is the Southern Aluminum logo.
So what are the other tables, Roger?
Pardon?
What are the other tables you?
They're all Southern Aluminum.
Because those are very nice.
Yeah,
They're very good to work with.
yeah.
And we're replacing the
There's
ones
some,
in
there's
the
eight
old.
old Formica tables I'm gonna replace, just add a couple more.
Couple? No.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah,
10.
So there's 8 we're replacing?
pardon?
8 we're replacing.
We're replacing 8 with 10.
Okay.
Okay.
The 50-pounders.
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a
For
motion,
the Southern.
The roll of the
Yep.
Okay.
we have a motion and a second to approve the low bid from Southern Aluminum, correct? Yep.
Yes.
For 10 tables for $53.43 is the number. Okay, further discussion on the motion. Okay, seeing no further discussion, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Thanks, Roger.
Also, regarding the generator here, I wrote out a little thing to put in the North Dakota Newspaper Association paper. I had state's attorney tweak it a little bit, and I've got an email address that to send this to, and at the Newspaper Association, they told me I sent it to a certain person and they know which newspapers to put it in. That was what they told me. So, I guess the only thing we would need to decide is the date and time to end the bids for the electrical mechanical engineering.
No, we talked about it before. How old is that generator?
Since '83, put in.
What budget are we gonna take this out of then?
That's ARPA.
C10.
Or estimated
And
cost?
we figured earlier the 300 kW generator would power the building, whole building.
With what?
Would power the whole building.
I think we talked estimated cost last week, probably in that 400,000 would be about, probably a ballpark figure with the
Just
engineering on it, because we figured,
raising prices from what it had been.
we figured 3 before with the engineering, but it's gonna be more than that, I'm sure, with costs going up. But that's what I spec'd on the ARPA dollars, so.
And this will be a diesel powered, right?
Pardon me?
Be diesel powered, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Or not.
Well, you know, actually Chris and I had talked about it being natural gas, it might be easier.
Cheaper, you think the original cost of the generator would be cheaper at natural gas or diesel?
I don't know, but it would certainly just be easier, you wouldn't have to worry about changing out fuel or anything like that.
You would need a fuel tank.
Pardon?
You wouldn't need a fuel tank, you just hook on to the natural gas one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's different.
That makes sense. Look at that anyway,
Yeah,
compare.
right. That wouldn't have to be done before we would put this in the papers, but that would be something to consider.
Yeah,
The question I have, and I don't know enough about natural gas, but when we lose electricity citywide, does natural gas have flow problems because they have valves and things of such nature, or
They keep flowing.
they keep flowing? Okay, I've never been on natural gas before, so I have no idea.
You can actually, just have a regulator.
We've never
Yeah, just
had-
got a regulator, it doesn't have, they don't have like electric valves or anything, it's just sitting on, so.
if the governor ever gets his way, he's gonna build us a natural gas line from western North Dakota to Grand Forks, so. We can get a bid, I guess. We'll try to bid on it.
You can bid it both ways, you can
Pardon me?
bid it both ways, you can compare the two.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't hurt to bid one each and see if there's a massive cost difference or.
Mhm.
Maybe it's way more, I don't know, natural gas.
I think the first thing is to get this out in the paper and get
Right,
an engineer hired,
and we
then
can
they can make their recommendation.
right, discuss with the engineer which way we want to go.
Good one.
Do we have to run it so many weeks? Do you know?
It will be on
Or
that.
doesn't it matter?
Pardon?
How many weeks do you have to run it? Or
Well,
does it matter?
yeah, I think most things it would be 3 times, like over 3 weeks, isn't it? For most.
Well, it's whatever our regular legal bid process would be. When we do the road bids, how often do we have to?
Yeah,
Yeah, anything over 100,000 is 21 days.
Okay, there you go.
okay.
So 3 times over 3 weeks and then set a date to open bids, then probably what, a month out at least?
Yeah.
Okay. Second meeting in October probably? Okay, so whatever date that would be.
18th,
So say 18th at 4 PM or something like that, so we can, that way you know you got the documentation and we'll open them at 5:30? Sound good?
Well, either that or put the deadline
Day before or
the
something?
day before.
There you go.
That'd be fine.
Okay.
Okay, then I guess, a motion would be in order then to advertise with the documentation in front of us with a stop date of the 17th of October at 4 PM, and then we'll open bids that second meeting of October.
I'll move the motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second then to advertise for a new generator, or for engineers for a new generator.
Correct.
And we'll open the second meeting of October. Further discussion on the motion.
And we'll just have them to our office.
Yeah.
Because then if somebody sends it, ratings.
I think in this advertising for engineers, we wanna tell them you're looking at both a diesel and a natural gas.
Well,
I think you should put that in there. So the
yeah, that
engineers are aware
we
of
would
that.
tell whatever engineer that we give the bid to that we're looking at both diesel and natural gas, yes, but that doesn't have to go into here.
You're just looking for the engineer that can do it.
We're just looking for the engineer, and once we find an engineer, then we will say, yes, we're looking at both diesel or natural gas.
I would assume the engineering would probably not change a whole heck of a lot other than obviously
I was
hookups and things of
thinking,
that
we
nature.
would just tell them right away that,
Which,
because they're gonna have questions on what we wanna do.
what, I guess my question is, I know we have to have an engineer, but what exactly are they engineering?
Electrical design.
Yeah.
That,
All
okay,
hooks up to the building.
okay. Well, that obviously is important, but the fuel source to me is probably not gonna be as important to them because
No,
they don't care as long as it gets hooked up.
It might not be a lot of engineering if we already have a generator and
Well, that's kinda what I'm thinking, it's like, I mean, we're gonna need probably larger feet into the building, I would assume, and how we hook into the building is gonna be different than it is currently, because we don't generate for the whole building, we can't generate for the whole building right now. There'll be some changes, I'm sure, but.
If the engineer doesn't wanna come and take a look at our existing plan, I'd be skeptical and not make sure they know. I think we should definitely tell them to look at both natural gas and,
Okay.
so I really think we should put that in there, so they're aware of what we're looking for.
Okay. Further discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of advertising, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Yeah, very good. Thanks, Roger.
Yep.
Okay, district health can't go till 8:30, budget can't go till 9. Kevin?
Okay, we'll start with the update on our projects. Graveling did get done on both Ramsey County 10 and Ramsey County 4, so those two projects are finished. Paver patches, nothing has changed there. I know that Strata is still running their plant just about every day, so they're still paving in town here. They haven't left, let's put it that way. And then I added the railroad crossing south of them. They're supposed to start working on that this week, and then it'll be in service in October.
Really? Where are they from?
I believe the railroad's doing most of the work themselves. So it'll be one of their crews.
It's kinda interesting how they're on like a big bid, cause like when we had the one at Royalville, and the guy was at a Thief River Falls or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's from a long ways away.
So any questions on our projects that were gotten in progress? All right.
Just a finish date on that one in Salt Lake, this fall,
Yep, we're supposed to start, like doing the dirt work, setting on base or
Sure.
a foundation for the stuff, so we'll start doing that this week.
So they think it probably a couple, 3 weeks.
Yeah, for electricity, yeah.
That's good.
Then it's in service next month, I'm guessing the middle of next month.
Pretty good turnaround.
Okay, on the bridges that we're replacing, we finally got the, hydraulic report back from the state, so the water board has given us a recommendation on what to replace those two bridges with. One of them, the one up in Fancher Township, is being replaced with 3 84-inch culverts, and the one way up in the corner of Highland Center is 2 48-inch culverts. I guess at this time, I'm just looking for a motion to accept the water board's recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the water board's recommendation for culvert replacement on the 2 bridges. Further discussion on the motion? 3 84-inch culverts. That's a lot of water.
Yeah.
Okay. No further discussion, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
So then to order those culverts for those two bridges and the third one that we had done, we got the hydraulic report back two or 3 years ago. And we already had a bridge, or a culvert size recommendation for that, so the price for all 3 of those, for the culverts is about $63,000. I need to order those.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to order culverts for the 2 bridges that spoke about before and a 3rd bridge for $63,000. For, just get them in the order stream for next year.
Yeah, I wanna get them at this year's price, so.
Yep, understand. Okay, further discussion on the motion to order the culverts. Seeing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
And the last thing I have is our program sheet. I laid a copy on everybody's desk. we added the, on the top box there, we added our paving project for the year 2024. That inslope flattening, that basically is another term for shoulder widening. So this would, the price there will include widening the shoulders on the road, on Ramsey County 3 from 17 south, 9.2 miles south. So from this Hamden Road that we just paved last year, go straight south of there. And Paul came up with that estimate for me, so. We did, on the federal aid part there, we're borrowing ahead. And that's just to show numbers, we'll have, hopefully have, gopher money. God, there you go. Prairie dog money. So, but we didn't add that in there, we realized that we could be using that money for that also.
So we believe we're gonna get that 2.2 million in federal aid though, so it'll be an outlay.
If we borrow ahead.
If we borrow ahead, we can get you that number, so
Well,
we
we're
can, so we're gonna talking 500,000 plus then probably.
No, that's, the total project is 2.6.
Yeah, but I'm saying we'll have to come up with 500,000
Oh,
locally
yeah.
then, whether it's
Yep.
prairie dog money or
Exactly.
that levy money.
Mhm. Yeah, that's like an 80-20 match, I think,
Okay.
no matter.
How far ahead will we be out on the federal aid borrowing then?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And then, we don't know our dollars either, so, but I would say probably 2 or 3 years.
I just wanna make sure we don't get out too far ahead.
Right. But I guess the main point there is we'll have some prairie dog money to work with also. And then, of course, the second block is our bridge project, which we've had in the works for years. He changed the date on there, the bid opening that, got changed by the state, so that's a lot of difference there. And then I added the flood projects that happened this year, the washouts. There's 4 of those listed there on the ER part, other federal aid program part.
Those will be 80-20?
Yep, 80-20. Engineering is also 80-20, and that's figured into those.
All these projects are patched up for now.
Yeah, right, we'll get through the winter. Only thing we'll have to watch is, some of them got a little bit reduced in culvert size. That's the only thing we'll have to watch next spring. So, I guess, this is what we have to bring to the convention with us in October for review. So they're asking for a signature from the chairman before we get down there. So we need a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion in a couple of seconds, for signature on the program sheet as listed with projects for next year and 2024, I believe as well. Further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
That's all I have,
That's all
so
you got.
that's for me.
Anybody have any questions for Kevin? Seeing none, thanks Kevin. Okay. We'll hit 10 minutes or so. So let's, well, there's nothing that's gonna be quick here. Now, let's just dive right into the joint powers agreement, cause, yeah, there's nothing super quick down there. We have the, I don't know if I have it, it was in our packets though. The new joint powers agreement, second draft, came back from the law enforcement center board. It was marked up by the sheriff's department, correct? They looked it over, as did Bo, I believe, make sure there wasn't anything goofy in there. Yes, so there were a few changes, if we all noticed. Let's see. One of the main ones, reimbursement was taken out on the wage and everything. So it would be back to being the Ramsey County costs. Yeah, cause number 7 records, yes, number 7 disappeared. Yep. The termination window, I believe, was made 90 days. As we talked about, number 10, the termination was made 90 days on the, as we talked about, to make sure that we give people time. Posted in. Addresses were put in. Other than that, that's pretty much it. It's the only changes that were made, and the law enforcement center board was okay with this, yeah?
I don't, we haven't seen it. No, more than that.
Oh, you haven't seen the second draft yet? Okay, okay. I didn't know this.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
You said no.
I believe so, correct? Yep, and the sheriff's department marked it up as well to see if they had anything just from the functional standpoint of how things would operate, if they had any. They had some question marks here on the, like on the whereases and things like that, but I think most of that stayed in. The main stuff was, like I said, was the reimbursement and then termination portion of the agreement.
Right.
The insurance and all that stayed in, they had some questions on that in terms of who has to cover insurance, I think, but they all stayed in, I think, pretty much as is.
I don't see what you do with lawn boards there.
Well, no, not if the reimbursement's being changed to us too, it's not gonna be any cost, so. That might be a place we could bargain for job for.
I think it's fine.
I do too, I think we could go ahead and approve it, and make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second that.
okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agreement for the captain with the law enforcement center. Further discussion on the agreement or the motion at hand? That's fairly straightforward, I guess. Then we approve it, we'll wait to hear back from the law enforcement center, I suppose then. Okay, further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Okay, we'll wait to hear back from the law enforcement center and see if we can get it signed. Okay, 4-H proclamation. That was in our packets. I don't get to sign that till later, I don't think, right? 3:45, I have to come take a picture. That feels special.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, your kids are, they should have said you come and take the picture. It's okay, I had to come back in for you. But, October 2nd through the 8th is 4-H week, this year. And Cindy contacted me and said they'd really like if we could do a proclamation from the county, saying that 4-H week is coming and we're, big supporters of 4-H week. So 4-H week in October 2nd, through the 8th would be, 4-H week, National 4-H week here in Ramsey County as well. So that's what the proclamation basically states.
You'd like a motion to go ahead and approve that, that we recognize,
Yes.
October 2nd to the 8th as National 4-H Week?
Yes, that is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Would you like me to read the proclamation?
No, I've seen it,
Usually,
I'd move to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve signature and approve the proclamation stating, October 2nd to the 8th is National 4-H Week and is recognized in Ramsey County. Further discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Very good. Okay. Still got a couple of minutes. Let's jump down on new business to the meeting date, get that taken care of. October 4th is a Tuesday, but we will be, at least a portion, or maybe all of us will be at the Association of Counties, I should say. Flip my calendar here. So we wanna do the 6th on Thursday at 8 AM, correct?
Yep.
Is that okay with everyone if we switch to Thursday the 6th at 8 AM?
Yep.
We've been kind of hopping dates around, or times and dates around here a little bit, but that is what it has to be sometimes. Okay, if that's okay with everyone, I guess I'd entertain a motion to do so.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to move the first meeting of October from the 4th at 8 to the 6th, Thursday the 6th at 8 AM. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes. State Fair delegate, we can handle that probably real quick too. I believe Beth was our State Fair delegate last year, it said on the sheet. Is she interested in serving again? She'd be willing to. Jeff says she'd be willing to. If we have a willing volunteer, I think we take it, correct?
Correct.
Do we have a motion to appoint Beth Black to be our State Fair delegate? We have a motion and a second to reappoint Beth Black as our State Fair delegate for discussion. Seeing none, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, I don't think we wanna dive into anything in the next 2 minutes probably because they're gonna take a little longer, I have a feeling. So we'll just chill for a second here, and I suppose we gotta get the telephone going here in a second, so we get going on the 8:30 district health budget period. Get my stuff kinda organized here.
Who did that love yet?
Yeah. Get my hearing aid on.
Yeah. Are you're going with me?
Are we the administrator?
Yeah.
What's our access code?
Yeah, you have that?
All I have is the attendee
I
ID.
have the options that will come out.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay. Got busy.
Yeah.
And we got homecoming. That all the time. And then Shane and I gotta take it my UND game. We got tickets and we're gonna want to take in. Maybe. But I don't know, there's nice seats. I got good seats.
You have that sheet so I can look at it, just set it for you, I don't know how much I'm going to do. So you know, maybe chair or something. Okay, we are just waiting for the other counties. I think we're the only ones on at this point.
from Roger, including diesel or electric, or diesel or gas generator. He changed the wording on that, so it does include that.
Hello? Okay. Hello?
Hello, this is Benson County calling in.
Welcome. It'll just be a moment, we're still waiting for Eddy County, I believe.
Hello?
Betty County?
Okay, Eddy County's with us.
Yes.
Alrighty, very good, thank you. Alright, is everybody prepared to get started?
Ready to go.
Okay. This is Adam Lipon, Chair of the Ramsey County Commission. I will call the meeting to order. First order of business on the agenda is the election of the chairman for the meeting. Do we have any nominations for chairman? Oh, we didn't pick you up there. Okay.
Could you have them identify themselves?
Oh, yes, whenever we make a motion, can we identify ourselves just for the minutes, please? Okay, Mike Christensen has nominated myself.
Ed Brown, like second.
Ed Brown seconds. Any further nominations? Any further nominations? Any further nominations? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion to appoint myself chairman, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, second order of business. Roll call of counties. You want to call it out, Candy? I'll allow you to do it if you'd like. Because you got the sheet in front of you. Okay. Okay, we'll start with Benson County. Who is present from Benson County?
Go ahead, Mike.
Mike Shepherd, Benson County. Ross, Benson County, Governor.
Sorry.
David Davis with Benson County Commissioner.
Okay, very good, thank you. Pierce County?
Mike Christensen, Kane Rigler, Mary Howard.
Who was the last one?
You're breaking up slightly. Can you speak a little louder, please?
David Bernard, D-E-D-N-E-R-T.
David Bernards, thank you very much. Eddy County?
Glenda?
Dave Gertz, Commissioner.
Neil's, here by phone.
Okay,
He's listening in.
okay, very good, thank you. And in Ramsey County, we have
Jeff Frith.
Wayne Gold.
Ed Brown.
Lisa Deesa.
and myself, Adam Lipon. Okay? That means we have a quorum of all the commissions. Thank you very much for that. Okay. From there, we will go to minutes of the previous meeting, so the 2021 meeting. The minutes were presented in the packets or sent out to you. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, Doris Griffin from Benson County moves to approve the minutes. Do we have a second? We have a second here in Ramsey from Blaine Volk. Additions, corrections, or discussion on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. This is Glenda Collier, Eddie County.
Oh, wait, we have a motion already, Glenda, but I appreciate it. Okay, further discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the minutes, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries and the minutes are approved. Thank you. All right, from there we will go to the 2023 budget, and we have Al McKay here to talk us through it, and then we'll have discussion following.
Thank you very much. As you can see, the total for the health unit is about $2,244,741. And then including family planning and WIC, comes up to $2,610,894. So it's been all broken out in the different areas of the budget. Does anybody have any questions whatsoever on the budget itself? Okay. It is slightly higher than last year, not very much. We are still below 5 mils, which is good. Yeah, that's what we'll be looking at for 2023.
Okay, so any discussion or questions on the budget? As Al said, we are at an equalized 4.297 mils. So we're under our 5 mil cap, but it's a little bit higher than last year. Any questions on the budget? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the 2023 budget for the Lake Region District Health Unit.
I'll move.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Giseth here in Ramsey County. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Glenda.
Okay, we have a second from Glenda Collier in Eddy County. Further discussion? Hearing none, we will roll call, please. Candy's got the roll call here, I think. Where's the list of names? Okay, Mike Steffen,
Aye.
Davey Davidson,
Aye.
Doris Griffin,
Yeah.
Ron Statham.
Aye.
Is that everyone in Benson, correct?
Yeah.
Thank you. Eddy County, Glenda Collier,
Aye.
Neil Rude,
Aye.
Dave Gertz.
Aye.
Thank you. Pierce County, Mike Christensen,
Aye.
Mike Brossart, David Migler, Terry Hoffert, David Bernard. We didn't catch you there, David. Okay, thank you very much. Here in Ramsey, Jeff Frith,
Aye.
Ed Brown,
Aye.
Lisa Dseth,
Aye.
Blaine Volk,
Aye.
and Adam Lipon is an aye. So it passes all counties. Motion carries. Thank you very much. From there, is there any other business to come before the meeting?
Then this is probably my last business before the committee. I will be done the end of September. I have Ashley Peterson back here who's taken my place. So, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure working with you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al. We appreciate it.
Yes.
And everybody's, I'm sure Ashley will be around talking to all the counties at some point in time. But if you have a chance, stop in and say hi to her.
All right.
Okay, seeing nothing else, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, okay, we have a motion, and I'll take Doris's as a second if that works. Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Yep.
We need to get like them all, everybody needs their face on the screen up there, so we can see everybody's smiling face. We need to get the Zoom call going. Okay,
That was the smoothest one ever.
it was. I liked it. It's a good way to go out.
Huh? Is it usually not?
No, not as smooth.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, from there, we'll move back up to ARPA committee, I guess, is the next on the agenda on the new business. The ARPA committee sheet was distributed earlier in my chicken scratch. What happened to it? I had to do someplace right here, it's underneath my phone. So, the ARPA committee met on Friday morning, for about an hour, hour and a half. There were 13 different projects that were submitted for possible funding to the ARPA committee from 11 different entities. So one entity did multiple, but they did it in different options for us, so we could kind of pick and choose kind of how things were gonna work. Of those 11 entities and 13 projects, 9 were funded, if I remember correctly, or chosen to possibly be funded. And under that number 1 on the list, those are the projects that we chose to fund from the ARPA committee level. So as you can see, the top 9 there, Devils Lake Public Schools Egg Center, $250,000. Devils Lake Park Board for the Entertainment Center, $250,000. The Mobile Career Exploration Unit, $20,000. The City of Prairie for their new siren, $9,500, and we're hoping on that one we might be able to get some money out of emergency management type thing, possibly, so that might change a little bit, but we decided we better fund it because they need a siren pretty bad, I guess. They don't have one, and hopefully they can get one before next tornado season. Lake Region Heritage Center, specifically for the roof, they were the one that put in multiple different options, but we said we'd like to see the money spent on the roof, $50,000. Lake Region District Health, they need environmental pickup and something to pull their trailer for emergency type stuff. We gave them a smaller ask, but $10,000. The Hope Center, for increased cost of food, it was actually quite eye-opening reading their documents. The cost of food has like quadrupled on them, and they basically, you would think like from the Great Plains Food Bank that, well, they just get the food. No, they gotta pay for it every month. So, and they live on donations. So $60,000 will help offset additional food costs. And then lastly on that list of the asks, were Devils Lake Rural Fire. They're looking to buy a new rescue truck. They got a bunch of grain bin extrication equipment and stuff, which is all, good things, but their truck is too small now. So they're looking to get a new rescue truck, $100,000 to them. And then the overarching discussion in the ARPA committee was we didn't want to spend all that half of the dollars because we needed to save some of that to go back to the county to do additional things because we know there's more expenses. So we've built in $250,000 for siren radios. Whether they're going to be county dollars for siren radios or to go out to rural fire and EMS type stuff, the county can make that decision, but that money's there just for radios. And if you don't need the whole $250,000, then the county can fold it back in and spend it on whatever they would need at the county level. But we figured that was a good use of the dollars, is to roll some of that back. So basically, of the total ARPA dollars, the money going out the door under this proposal would be right around $750,000 to the outside entities. $250,000 to siren would be possibly outside entities as well, with rural fire and things of that nature, if they need some help. The second portion of the proposal is just my thought process. This is not the ARPA committee's proposal. This is just my thought process on the Ramsey County side of dollars, because I was thinking, how do we pencil our side of the dollars, basically? I shouldn't say our side, but the remaining dollars that are there. In talking with Roger, obviously generator was number 1 on the priority list, $400,000 to the generator. I'll skip down to the next one. We need the phone system at some point. We've been talking about it for a few years. The projection on that from NDTC was about $75,000 to re-outfit the phones. $225,000 then would get us the remainder, other than that other one I'll talk about in a second. So that would be various county projects. That would be able to cover touchless faucets, duct cleaning, bottle fillers, update lighting, handicap bathroom upgrades. And if there's anything left over, you could use those dollars for county siren costs, hopefully would be the thought process. Again, this is just my chicken scratch on how to make those dollars work. The one thing that was sticking in the back of my mind in the whole process here too was we have made a commitment as a county towards the fair building. And if we're gonna make a commitment to the fair building, how is that going to be funded long term? my thought process was, and this is something the future commission's gonna have to make a decision on, but the thought process I had was take $500,000 of those ARPA dollars, and then you would have that other $500,000, then you could fund that through a loan like we did the, search and rescue building. And you could do that over a time span of years, but if you're going to do it that way, then the commission at some point is going to have to tell the fair board, you have a drop dead date for that fundraising. Because we have to know by this date if you're gonna spend those dollars or not, because if not, they'll be folded back into the county, and then they can be spent on whatever the county needs to spend something on, and to offset budget.
What is that date on this?
It would be all based off of the spending deadlines in the ARPA bill, and I honestly can't tell you off the top of my head.
I read it.
We have to have it figured by 2024, I think, is we have to have it appropriated. So you'd have to give them a drop dead date probably slightly previous to that, just so you would know that money's gonna come back or not. And then you can appropriate it accordingly. I would say probably next October or something, because that would give you time before next year's budget to roll into the 2024 budget. But again, this is my chicken scratch, so that's gotta be a future commission's decision, but I wanted to make sure that we carved out possibly a portion of those ARPA dollars to help pay for that fair building, so that all of those dollars don't have to come out of a future budget. Was my thought process. So, I guess this is what but the top 8 up there, those are, nobody received well, I shouldn't say nobody, a couple of them received a full ask, but they were the small projects like the siren, because $9,500, you're not gonna do half of the $9,500. But for a matter of process, so everybody understands how this worked, it was subjective to a point, but we had scoring criteria in multiple categories. The 4 members of the committee, so myself and Candy, and Brad Barth and Susie from tourism. And I'll say a big thank you to everyone on the committee, because this was honestly one of the harder things I've had to do since I've been on the commission, because everybody had good quality asks on what they were looking for. The projects all had high quality merit, and they were good things that would help the community. But we all scored all of the committee, or the proposals separately, blind, off of those guidelines, off of the different categories. And then once we scored them all blind, then we were able to look at the other people's numbers. And it was actually quite interesting, because the top 4 or 5 proposals after Susie, myself, and Candy scored them, we all scored the top 5 the same. Not like the same numbers, but they were in order. This is the first, this is the second, this is the third type of thing. So even though it was somewhat subjective, the committee was pretty whole in saying, we think these projects have the most shovel ready, and these dollars will be put to good use type of merit. Again, the commission as a whole gets to make its decision on how it wants to spend the money. This is just a recommendation, but this is what we came up with after going through the process. Questions?
I got a question. I know the Lake Region Heritage Center, the roof, the 50,000, I mean, the roof is just so much money. So the thing is, could they use this on the steps? I mean, because that was 40,000, I mean, can they have a choice?
I think we would work with them on it, and the commission could
Because
work
I'm
with them
sure
on
they're
it.
gonna ask at the meeting.
The thing we thought when we were putting it together, I think, was there's no way to fund the full roof, because it was
I understand.
$825,000 or
Yes.
something like that.
It's
But
not enough.
re-rubbering the roof was like 70, I think is
Yeah.
what her guess was. But she didn't have an actual bid. So we thought 50 is a good place to start.
Good.
And maybe they could fundraise and get to that 70 to re-rubber the roof, and if they can't, then maybe they could come back and say, hey, we can't make that money, we could go to the steps, but the preference would be obviously the roof, because you got a leak in the roof, you got a bad building.
Oh, you definitely.
So
It's
that
been
was
like
kind of
that
the thought
forever.
process behind it, but
Okay.
I think there's the commission has the flexibility to do whatever they would like to do. I mean,
Okay.
and to be honest, I had one outside entity actually contact me about, they missed the submission deadline, didn't know about it is what they said. So, I forgot to bring it up at the committee meeting, but I think we would have said, well, you missed the deadline, but if they have any question, or if they are looking for dollars, they can always put together a proposal and come to the county and the city separately for things if they have needs. Just like we fund the safe house that way, and we fund a lot of different places that way, so. Further questions?
Okay.
I do have a question for Terry since he's here. This $250,000 you guys are asking for the entertainment center, is there a plan?
Oh, yeah, we can hire a construction manager at Ramsey hired an architect, and they're busy putting, they've got some designs put together that we've been going through, trying to narrow it down to what we want. So we expect to have, within the next month, to have a pretty firm plan. And, I mean, there's some, you know, we had some public forums and asking the people what they want in the building, and so we've got the top items that they wanted in there was pickleball court, indoor playground, movie theater, bowling alley, simulators, and a walking track. And we've got the design that we've got put together, all those are gonna be in there. And there may be a few other things, there's gonna be a birthday party room and stuff like that, so.
And we saw prelim design, just sketch outs of where things should lay in the building and stuff as part of the proposal, with kind of the dollar figures associated, basically. And the hope was, you know, Jeff and I sat in on a meeting with the city, the hope was that they were gonna step to the table too and do something at a similar dollar figure, hopefully. So, you know, we all can kind of step up behind it and say we think this is a priority for the community to provide something for the kids.
So when
we
we
met
got
with the city.
entertainment, if you do this entertainment center, are you guys moving your staff to the entertainment center?
That's kind of what we're planning on doing, is moving the offices out there.
I'm just looking to be better for the public.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
And
no-
I'm just asking a question because the questions have been out on the public. I mean, I know your form, and, you know, people are paying this taxes that you guys are accumulating now, you know.
Yeah,
Just so, I just wanna make sure so that it actually goes into that center, not so that this is getting a piggyback and all of a sudden we have an enormous amount of money.
The taxes don't actually start accumulating until first of the year, but.
Right, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
just so that the first of the year doesn't start accumulating and there's not a plan.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're thinking, just kind of some preliminary estimates, we're thinking it's gonna cost about a couple $1 million to get this building
Oh,
Yeah.
with all this stuff in it, so.
Well, and like you said when we were in our meeting, the 400,000 will be good, because that's the projected sales tax yearly, but that's gonna be operations and maintenance,
Right.
rental in the building, all of those things, additional staff needed to run it. Well,
Exactly.
we need some startup dollars though to get her fitted up, so we can get her running sooner rather than later, instead of waiting for the sales tax to be approved.
I think you're really underestimating the $2 million. So the fact is the locker room at the high school was 1.9 million.
Well, the only thing is, we got
I
the
think you're
building
looking
in
at
pretty
maybe
good
like
shape.
30 million.
What?
I'm thinking you're gonna be looking at like 30 million, I'm just being,
No. Well, the
if that's
building,
1.9 million, and
if
you
you
wanna
wanna-
put all these entities
but
in
the
there.
building's already there, so
Okay,
that saves us.
I'm just saying if you were putting up a
Oh,
building and
absolutely.
everything,
No,
Absolutely.
We're just renovating.
yeah, it would have been 20 if we were starting from scratch, yeah, but, and I think it's a deal where, you know, if, say, I would assume the park board's got some flexibility, if we can only come up with $1.75 million, and, okay, then we'll have to pick and choose what you can afford to put in right away, and maybe you say we put in something a little later when we fundraise a little more, we can put some more cash together, whatever the deal's gonna be. And the kicker of it is too, with any of these dollars, you know, the checks aren't gonna go out the door the minute it's approved. The checks won't go out the door until a project is going and they have proved that they need this money, and then the county can cut the checks at any point in time. So if a project doesn't come to fruition, like any of these projects on this board, on this proposal, the checks, the county will just absorb the money back at that drop dead date, and they can put it into the budget for 2024 and do whatever the heck they want with it, because there's pretty much no strings to the ARPA money now. So they can offset road costs, they can buy some more radios if they're short on the cyber dollars, they can do, you know, county can do just about anything with it.
We have no intentions of finalizing this list at all today.
No, I want you guys to chew it over and think about it. I just wanted, the thought process was to get it in front of everybody before we had to finalize the budget. So that we could chew it over, think about it, say we think that's too much, that's too little.
No, that's fine.
at least we have something in front of us
Yes.
where we're an idea.
Yeah, and
I like to have this idea in front of us.
And like I
so that we
said,
can look at it.
the top portion again was that was the committee's work. The bottom portion was just my thought process on what you would do with the county side of things, cause I was working backwards from what are the county needs. And then working our way to the ARPA money, and that's kinda how we worked our way back down from the initial, well, half to more like 65, 35, 60, 40 type of thing, because the county's needs are pretty heavy in terms of if you wanna get the generator done and put some of that money towards the fair building and phones and, you know, siren costs and all that, so that extra $250 going back to siren and everything, but I guess I looked at it too from the standpoint of where are we getting bang for our buck? And where are the dollars going? And if you look at it, where do we derive property taxes from in the county? Well, a lot of property taxes obviously are ag land valuation, so we've got a good mix, I think, where some small communities are getting dollars, ag center for kids, we got the entertainment center that's gonna be for in town, but for kids in the whole community, we've got dollars for rural fire, which is for ag, a lot of ag type stuff, you know, there's a kind of a good mix of all kinds of different options in here. So again, no, we're not looking to finalize today, but this is just for everybody to chew over. The thought process is we could finalize it anytime, I'm not saying it has to be done next meeting or the meeting after, but we could always take dollars back from this if we need to offset budget if we feel that way. Or,
Some of these projects are gonna, this is the start of the project, they're gonna fund themselves. Like, for instance, I'm just using, I'm sorry, I'm picking on
That's
it.
good.
The Devil's Lake Board is obviously gonna fund itself once it's going.
well, to a point, yes, yes.
You would sure think it would be able to.
Yes. You know, most of these projects aren't like happening tomorrow, right?
Right.
So it's just for, in anticipation of next construction season or of, you know, months out from now. So we've got time to make a determination. The whole thought was is we could have a determination made probably by November or something like that, or sometime in October or whatever. That's why I wanted to get in front of the commission before September, so we could make a determination. And that doesn't necessarily mean that that can't change either, but this is just an initial pass, basically. Okay, further questions? I can try to answer them.
Just another question for Terry, I guess, since you're here. Have you had talks with the city on
Yes.
this? Yeah.
We met with them last night, we were at the city commission meeting
Okay.
last night.
How'd that go?
That went good, I'm sure they're gonna be on board, I'm thinking for about the same amount.
Okay.
We've had discussions with them already about it.
Yeah. Well, and that was part of the reason, the rationale behind the 250, because the city has kind of stated, not like concrete, but that's a level they would be comfortable helping at as well. So we figured we'd want to match what the city would be willing to do.
And another question that seems like it's moving around the public quite a bit. Who's gonna own the Wally's?
Who's gonna own the building? Well, we're working with Jamie Levers Corporation, or Levers, whatever owns it. And, we're gonna have either a long-term lease or we're going to buy the building from him. So, Jamie's all in on this thing, you know, he's got 5 kids that he wants to have something to do.
I think that's a good question, because that question got asked to me too. People are concerned that we're gonna be pumping a whole bunch of dollars into this. Are we gonna own it eventually? I think they're great that Levers is on
Yeah.
board,
Yeah.
but I think a lot of people would like to see the fact that you own it, something
Yeah.
like it's a lease to own.
Yeah, a lease to own or a long-term lease with an option.
So
to
I
buy
would
at
make
some
sure
point.
that when you're working this angle,
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
I mean,
so that we're not pumping money into something that eventually could just go away.
Right,
we're not taking care of our responsibility if we don't ask that question.
Yeah.
yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, that was one of the first questions I
And I
asked
trust your
Terry at our meeting.
passion, yeah, I do.
We've actually had a few people ask, and some people think, oh, okay, we're just trying to, just trying to help Levers out. No, Levers is trying to help us out. I mean, he's all in, like, he's got 5 kids and he wants something for his kids to do, but it's driving him nuts.
Well, it's a good fit too. It's a good location, good building. It'll work well if we could pull it off, hopefully.
And he's got a lot of other land right by there that we could do some outdoor stuff with too, or even add on to the building.
It's a good spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, easy access, good parking lot already.
I think when you asked that question, I think the way I was brought to my attention is they didn't want to put a pile of money in there and then one day they said, we're gonna sell this place and here we sit.
Yeah,
That's the concern.
Yeah, cool.
yeah, it has to be, the agreement and the lease and everything has to be crafted correctly to make sure there's no outs, and if we're putting money into it, we get long-term bang for our buck. At least as long as the assets are depreciable.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, further questions or discussion on the sheet in front of you? Okay, seeing none, we will just put it on old business for next meeting, and we can either do something next meeting or just push it to the next meeting, and we'll give everyone enough time to think about it. Okay. What time is it? Oh my goodness, it's 9 o'clock on the nose. God, what luck. Alright, perfect. I wasn't even watching the clock, somebody should have been yelling at me. Oh yeah, I can't, you're on top of things. That's why you were kinda nodding at me.
Yep.
Move this thing along.
Here's the good part.
I didn't keep you yet, so.
Alright, 9 o'clock. So we will move into our budget hearing for the 2023 budget. Let me get my sheets in front of me here so I can answer questions if people have questions. Okay, so, do I have to technically open a budget hearing, or it's just budget hearing time, because it's 9 o'clock, it's not like close the meeting, open the meeting? Okay. Okay, thanks Terry, appreciate it.
Thank you.
2020.
Where's all of the public?
I don't know. They
It's a
already
good
called
thing.
in,
Yeah, well
they
that's,
already called.
well that's kinda like, I mean, I'm not, this is,
I've invited them to the,
Yeah, and I have
you
too.
know, it's like.
If you have questions, come ask.
Please, yeah, come,
And I've had, questions from people.
yeah.
They had a home rule meeting in Grand Forks County the other day and nobody came.
No, I heard that.
Wow. In that huge county, nobody came.
Yeah.
What are we gonna pass then?
I don't know. Either everybody hates it or everybody loves it, I guess, so.
Still they're voting.
Till they're, yeah, we'll see.
I felt pretty good when we had ours, we had 12.
Yeah, we had 12 people, we were living the high life. Okay, so budget hearing, we don't have anybody here to ask questions, but for the camera, there are people out there watching. I'll just make some quick notes on the budget. So, budget for fiscal year 2023 currently, we are at a total of $14.6 million, of which county property tax makes up 7.5 million of that, give or take. So right around 51% of the budget, of our total budget is county property tax, which means 49% of the total budget is coming from other sources, federal pass-throughs and all that kind of stuff, state pass-throughs. So it's kind of interesting when you look at the budget like that. Proposed mill levy for 2023 currently is at 108.69 mills, which would be up from the previous year's 103.5. So the increase in the budget is right around $607,000, I believe, once they took out the state stuff on the re-up. So $607,000, which is about a 9% increase of total dollars, but that's what some of that's in the capture on the additional dollars on the mill levy. Mills went from 66,000 and change to 68,000 and change. Of which, so we're at a $607,000 increase on the budget, but an interesting portion of that is if you look at the budget line for line, $653,000 of those increases are for law enforcement center, state's attorney, and the sheriff's department. And so actually the budget went down $50,000 in the other areas, even with adding in a raise for the employees to try to keep up with inflation. But that's where our costs are coming from, plain and simple. There's just no way to go around it. It's from trying to keep the streets in Devil's Lake and the surrounding communities safe is where the costs are coming. Plain and simple. So we've harped on this and we've hit it and we've hit it and we've hit it. We've got to work with the state this coming session and try to get some help because it is killing us. If you look at the total overall budget, local budget of the $7.5 million, $4 million, a little over $4 million is law enforcement, incarceration, and state's attorney. So 53.5% of the total outlay local funding is law enforcement costs. 1.4 million of it is roads, so that's another 18.65%. So over 72% of the budget is roads and law enforcement, which is basic tenets of government. That's what we're here to do, provide services. The dollar figure of the prairie dog, I went and looked at the buckets last night because I was curious to see where we were at through August. We are projected to fill by February, I believe, is what it's looking like right now. And we're looking at $1.67 million coming from the prairie dog.
And that's gotta be spent on what?
Roads, roads and bridges, any road and bridge cost. So the question,
That help?
yes, yes,
Yeah,
which
that
is,
helps a lot.
which helps a lot.
Oh, yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
We don't have that, we're not fixing any bridges. that's-
No, we just aren't.
We're probably closing roads, right?
Yeah, eventually, yes.
Well, if you look at the long-term UGPTI study costs for our county over the next 20 years or whatever, it's a massive number. It's not near as bad as like a Walsh County or a Trail where they have all the bridges, but it's still a massive number over 20 years. I mean, I think it's like 80-some million dollars. I mean, that's, I'm sure they build inflation on that too, but $4 to $5 million a year just to keep our system at its current level, which we're gonna struggle to keep up with. I mean, even though we're in pretty good shape in Ramsey County right now, we're gonna struggle to keep up with it.
We should take a minute to thank the legislators for what we've got.
Yes, we should.
Prairie dog money, take over the funding of social service.
It's been huge.
Yeah.
You throw that on top of this budget,
Oh, Jesus.
and I hate to say it, but the
We'd be capped.
taxpayers of Ramsey County would have a damn bunch to bitch about
Yes.
if we had to take care of social service funding and we didn't have the prairie dog money
That's right.
coming in.
That's
We
right.
really would.
You're right.
So, the things that have gotten done in the last number of years has benefited the taxpayers of Ramsey County very much.
Yeah.
And I really don't care who I say that to.
No, you're right. You're playing it simple. Well, the first year I was on the commission, I think we were at 139 mills or something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah,
And now we've consistently been running between 95 and 105 or so, so
Yes.
that's a 30-some mil decrease because of social service.
Yeah,
I mean, we'd be at the general fund mill cap right now,
Yeah.
if they hadn't taken over social services.
well, I'm not happy about law enforcement either, but
You're right,
we're not defunding the police in this community, I know that, no chance.
we gotta look at the positives though too, is what you're saying,
Absolutely.
and I agree, yeah. I harp on the stuff that we need more help, but we have received a lot of help, the state's been actually.
Well, I think where you're going with that, Adam, is you were pointing out where we need to ask for help.
Yeah.
It's not that, yes, it's killing us on our budget, but on the other hand, if it was another department that was killing us, then would need help on that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's where you're going, I feel that's where you're going with that is.
I'm going with it from the standpoint of, I look at our incarceration costs and our law enforcement costs as an extension of like a social service cost.
Right.
Because we are a hub community, so the things happen here. Because of how the structure of Century Code works, we end up picking up people because drug trades happen here. And then we have to incarcerate them on Ramsey County's dime just because it happens that the largest city in the area happens to be in Ramsey County.
Right.
So that's where my concern, I'm not saying the state should take over all our incarceration costs, but I think there needs to be at least a discussion about the fact that the larger hub communities end up bearing more cost than the outlying communities, generally speaking, because of the things that happen in those, I mean, because more people deems more crime, deems more everything. And that's why our, like, same social services costs were astronomical compared to other counties around us, because where do people that need services gravitate to? The communities that have the services. And that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing, but unfortunately, how the structure of the payment system works is not, it's antithetical to how the system should be structured. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, but you guys are completely right in saying the state has stepped up and helped us in many areas. But doesn't mean we still can't keep asking.
exactly.
Keep that conversation
Hand
going.
out.
Yeah. Anyway, we have nobody here to ask questions.
I have a question on
Go ahead.
the veteran service budget, and the only reason I'm asking is I've been looking into a few different things. And I know he's been taking care of Towner County, because they don't have anybody up there right now.
Okay.
Oh, they
don't?
No,
I didn't know that.
and we're not getting anything from, yeah.
Those people are just coming here that need help.
He's not going up to Towner County, they're coming
Well,
here.
yes,
Yeah.
correct.
Well, yeah, but we can't technically ask for anything. Because it doesn't matter where a veteran walks into, it doesn't matter if they're from Devil's Lake, they can walk into Cass County Veteran Services and they have to be served.
So looking at his budget, I know he's traveling to Benson and Nelson, correct?
Correct.
They pay part of it.
They pay part of it.
Yeah,
But they're paying part of the wage, not the travel, right?
I'm not sure, I'm not sure at all.
I don't think, I
That
don't think
travel,
anybody
that
gets
travel
travel.
line in his budget is for travel when he goes to conventions and
Yeah.
different
That's
things
what
like
I'm, that's what
that.
I'm asking, so is this individual using his own vehicle to go to
yes.
Yes,
with no compensation?
I don't know if he's ever come back to us or wanted travel, or it's never been put in there.
I don't disagree, there should be compensation, bro.
it's never been,
Because when I'm looking at that individual's wages, and if he's not getting compensation to go to these places, I mean, we need to ask Benson and Nelson. There's no way I would do it for that money.
How much are they, how often are they going, once a week, each place?
Right.
I think it's what's.
And they spend you spend a half a day in each place, is that what it is?
he spends a half a day on Tuesdays in Nelson County and all day on Thursday in Benson County.
Well, let's get them in here and let's find out what's the problem. I don't believe Benson or Nelson are gonna have a problem paying a little mileage to the gentleman. I'm sure they won't at all.
I don't think it should, my personal opinion, I don't think it should come out of the individual.
No, I agree completely, I guess it was just
travel there.
Oh,
And
let's get
granted,
him
I
in
know
here.
he was hired to help.
Let's get them in here, let's get them in here.
I guess it was just an oversight, we didn't think about it at the time. and
We don't need
we
to
should have.
today, but.
Well,
I mean,
if
look,
he's here,
Yeah,
I'd like to
in
ask.
here,
That's a good question, Robert, I never thought of that.
And I'm just looking through it because, you
probably
know,
gonna be a little on.
other entities, if you have to go somewhere, obviously, we're gonna, other offices, we're gonna give them something back. We're just not gonna expect them to use that on their dime.
It's not a huge item to this budget.
No, I know that.
I don't wanna get on the phone with Benson and Nelson today either, I mean.
No, but we can reach out to them and tell them what we're looking
so
at.
does
I can't
Towner,
believe it's gonna be a problem with them.
Towner has somebody over there, right?
I think they
Cause
don't
don't
right
we
now.
by law have to have somebody? You have to have somebody
I
for
just
so
think
many
they're in
hours.
limbo of someone not.
Yeah, they're trying to hire somebody.
Oh, right now they are?
I don't know, apparently that's what, I'm assuming you're saying, because they don't have.
But we can ask her, Bryce is here, we'll ask her. And I think the only reason this came up is I was at work and 835th is coming back, they came back from activation. And there's a lot of people that are going for the services, you know.
Okay.
Well, we can address that later.
Yeah, that's something we can put on the, going forward though, I think that's a good question. And just a little bit of background on it, the thought process behind it was when Benson lost their VSO, when Nelson lost their VSO, they wanted us essentially to somewhat pay more of the bill, but we said, well, it only makes sense that if, you know, it's again, hub community. Where are people coming to do things like grocery shop or go see, medical services or whatever, they're coming here. Well, if they needed to see the VSO, they would just see the VSO in Devil's Lake, so at that point, Stacy was our VSO, and he was keeping track of all of the Nelson County and Benson County. We were seeing a pile of those veterans in Ramsey County, which is a good thing. But, so then we worked with the other counties to say, hey, let's structure the basis of the cost off of total veterans in each county. So that means hypothetically of total capture you could get in each county. And we should look at that again in terms of how many veterans are in each county, because my guess is that Ramsey probably has more now as a percentage, so we probably should pick up a slight bit more. But I think it would be worthwhile to look at that at the same time talking to Nelson and Benson about some additional costs.
And
At the time, I guess we didn't think about it much because Stacy was over in Nelson County, so.
And like Ed said, it would be a minute thing, but I just don't think it should be coming out of
No,
the
I agree.
individual's pocket.
Something to put on for a future agenda, we'll do a little back checking and talking with the other counties and see if we can figure something out.
We wanted to have a plan when it comes into us too, so individual.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Give them some time and we'll take care of that.
I think that's reasonable. Okay, further questions or discussion on the budget?
What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah. You know, I don't think anybody, wants to see taxes increase, but I don't know where we cut. I think, like Commissioner Lightfon pointed out, our law enforcement incarceration prosecuting costs have risen dramatically over the last several years, and they continue to do so. I don't know if there's any way around that. Certainly like to see some legislative help with some incarceration costs or cost reductions. You know, don't expect them to pick up the entire tab, but certainly a small ask would be beneficial. One thing I noticed in both the discussion of the ARPA funds for the county and for the budget itself, we took out a couple vehicles for a couple departments last budget discussion, and I didn't see them anywhere in the ARPA discussion for county side of things.
What vehicles are we speaking of?
Emergency management and the tax office.
And, yeah, we're gonna talk about that following.
I see that, but
The thought process is, we had the COVID dollars still from the original COVID, so we would take them out of that.
okay,
I think that's what we talked about, Jeff, the very first time that.
Yeah.
right.
Otherwise, I would have put them in the
Well,
ARPA dollars. Yeah, you're right.
Just
That's,
don't want them forgotten.
no, we didn't forget them.
So,
No, I agree, we need to take care of that as well.
but I think the budget, you know, given the inflation numbers and being able to come in as low as we are, I think, you know, I think our departments, we owe them a debt of gratitude for coming in as low as they did, and keeping costs as minimal as possible. And, you know, still be able to give our employees a cost of, well, I shouldn't say a cost of living increase because it doesn't meet that, but gave them some additional compensation along the way. And
It's like a half a cost of living
yeah,
increase.
you know, I think we said it once and we should say it again and again, is that our employees are our most valuable asset. And, you know, part of the reason we have such low turnover in the county is because I do think we try to treat them as fair as possible. We continue to do so.
I hope they're happy with the 4% that we put out there, because a lot of places are only at 1.6 to 2.0. And like I said before, I would love to give everybody what the levy cost is, but I just don't see how you could actually do that.
It's not feasible.
We're taking care of a pretty good benefit package too.
Yeah, I think they're happy.
That's pretty
I've never
good.
heard anybody
You know what I'm saying,
complain.
I'm just looking at it and.
Nobody's complained about it.
Well, we've got, I mean, I think Candy and I talked about it later, but we've, since I've been here, we've had very, very low turnover.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the occasional, you know, but where we have the most turnover is probably social services, but that's from young people moving to new jobs, and it's just, that's where the turnover comes there, but we have a lot of really
Social
quality
services,
volunteer
we're not
workers.
covering that.
And that's state, and they're on the state salary. And we have that discussion very constantly there, but we wish we could take a little bit of additional dollars and change the pay scale upwards, we could keep people. But they get capped out, and then they have to go someplace else basically to get paid more. And it's a crappy deal, is what it is, but you gotta work within the parameters of what the state's, because the state's gonna, you know, what did they do last session, 2% or something like that? So we're out here every year trying to keep up with cost of living, and they give a 2-year biennium raise of 2%. I mean, it's untenable, I mean, but regardless, I mean, and not to muddy the waters more, but in looking at the initial salary study stuff that's starting to come back, we're gonna have that coming up. They actually have some of the initial stuff done, and I don't know how to put it, pleasantly surprised. We're actually not too bad a shape.
The research that I have done, that we're not,
We're in the ballpark
are definitely in
on a lot of stuff, so actually we're in pretty good shape. that way.
surprisingly, you know, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I think Jeff had said it one time, a little fearful putting it out there because you don't know what's gonna come back.
Correct.
You know, it could come back and kick you in the face and be like, oh, what have we been doing?
No, but you know what, I feel, I shouldn't say good, but I feel, not even validated, but just, we're in the ballpark, which means that the work we've done in trying to keep up has been good work.
Right.
It means we've been in the right track, we're trying to take care of our employees the way, and there's gonna be some adjustments, and that's good. That's part of doing the salary survey, was to show the employees, hopefully, okay, you're in the right spot or you're not, and we're gonna take care of you, you know? And and so, it costs us some money to do it, I realize, but I think it's gonna be beneficial in the end, and everybody knows we're trying our best to at least try to stay current and take care of everybody, so. That's our goal always. I can't remember, I think was it Henry Ford or something like that said, the only thing worse than keeping, or than losing an employee is keeping a poor one and not training them, or something to that effect. So when we get a good employee, you keep the good employee, and we've got good employees who wanna keep them.
And new employees are costly.
Yes.
Because you think you've told them everything,
You haven't.
assume you have,
Training is expensive.
training is
Yes.
expensive.
And the only reason I say that is that we are, where I work, are in a situation where all the old timers, we're losing all that experience, we're bringing the young people in. And not that they're bad people, but we're really uneducated. And it's kicking us in the butt. You know, and we're starting to realize to try to catch up, training is super expensive.
Yeah, institutional knowledge when it walks out the door is massive.
You don't see it until you lose a mass exodus like we did, when you lose 5, 6 people at a time, because their age is all.
Yeah, they were just a retirement age, they all came in
Came
at the same time.
and so I imagine in the past, they were in the same predicament we were in now. But when I came on, I didn't see that because everybody was just more experienced than I was.
You don't think about that when you're the new guy, huh?
But now I see.
Understand. Okay, further discussion on the budget, we're not approving today, that's first meeting of October, but this is just for people to, discuss or question or air grievances.
At least we're coming to some agreements. Right,
And talking to Jeff's comment about where do we, if we wanted to find savings, I don't know where we find them. Just because my initial thought process was maybe we could offset some of the save. You know, we're already taking essentially 8 mils off budget between generator and siren radio, and more than 8 mils, probably 10 plus mils off budget that we would have to spend otherwise out of the ARPA dollars. So we're taking that off budget, we're taking, hopefully the 2 vehicles are gonna be off budget. We've taken some of the drone stuff that we needed to get done off budget. I mean, we've tried our best to use those dollars as best we can. And the only other place you could do it is maybe from the prairie dog funds, but in looking at the 2024, when we're staring down $2.7 million to pave, I think we're almost gonna have to keep the powder dry and
Well, that's what
and
our
build.
fund was supposed to
Yeah.
do though. That's what it was supposed to take some off the taxpayer.
Well, we're getting stuff done that we need to get done.
Right.
Initially, it wasn't.
Yeah.
But either way, eventually you were gonna have to put it.
It was supposed to be lost revenue originally.
Initially, it wasn't to pass the direct savings on to taxpayers, but I'm glad that they've loosened their thought process on that and given us some leeway on that, because the things that we're looking at doing isn't that, you know, it's a need, not just a want, they're needed. You need to have, in a facility like ours, you need to have an emergency generator. You need to have some of the things that we've been purchasing. It's not a, you know, a pie in the sky type of spending. It's something that are needed. And when you do need it, it's and generally have to come out of general funds. And so a lot of it is needs, not only what we need, but we feel that the community needs as well. So a lot of community needs are being taken care of, or, you know, supplemented, I guess. You know, we're not taking care of everything and some of the community needs, but, you know, there was a lot of different asks, and we try to meet as many of them as we Possibly could.
And that was the initial hope with the ARPA funds, was we could get county things done, but at the same time, show the community that we're trying to get some things done in the community too with those dollars, so.
And I think our initial thing was, we knew, or we were telling the public, 100% of the money is not gonna be able to go back to the public. But on the other side, if you look at it, it really is. If you're remodeling or doing something into this facility, the public all comes here, right, for some reason, some way, somehow. So you are.
Well, I look at it from the standpoint of we need a generator.
Yeah.
So if we didn't use ARPA funds for the generator, it'd be coming out of the general.
Yeah.
And we'd be finding $400,000 out of the general to pay for a
And
generator.
that's what I'm saying, you look at that, you really are.
They're getting the money back, is what they're getting, it's just we're taking care of things we've needed to take care of for a while.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Anyway, anything else on the budget? Okay, we got nothing else, we will, I don't think I have to close the budget hearing, but I'm gonna say I'm closing it. If anybody has questions on YouTube land, don't hesitate to shoot an email or give a call. We're on the county Facebook page, county website. So, look us up and shoot us an email and hopefully we can answer questions.
County YouTube channel.
Huh?
The YouTube channel.
Yes?
Yep, subscribe to that, you'll get
Yeah.
a notification that the video is
Yeah,
starting and you can go back and watch it.
go to YouTube and watch us, we're like stars on YouTube. Okay. Last thing on the, well, not last thing, but last thing on the new business, vehicle discussion. Emergency management and tax director, and we have the emergency manager back there. Morning, Chris. There are a couple of proposals. Chris brought this to me last week in saying, the thought process behind this is if we go, he's got bids from local dealers off of vehicles they will be getting that are like 1LS, you know, the base grade models. If we buy one that way versus bidding it and then waiting, we might be waiting 12 months or whatever for a vehicle. So maybe it's better to at least look at what the cost would be of getting one of those ones that's coming in. So I told him, come in, give us the numbers and we can take a look at it and kind of go from there.
Yeah, I got in your packets, there's a couple bids, that was just two that were coming in, I have a few more bids that are outstanding, that are just trickling in. I got one last night. So they're all roughly that price, and that is actual vehicles that they're going to be getting. Every dealership says if you're gonna bid for one now, maybe 8 months, maybe next year. So it's kinda getting bad for, vehicle acquisitions, and I heard Kevin had the same problem with that pickup that he was getting.
This white one across the street, that's, what the tax office is using now.
That old
What year is
Trailblazer.
it?
Oh,
Well, it's gotta be 2000 something, because Trailblazers didn't come out until 02. I think it's like an 03. Cause I had an 02 Trailblazer, it was the first year they came out. It's a solid vehicle.
It actually runs?
Yeah.
That's a good first question.
This is a question I have though, and I'm not against one or the other. Why was that vehicle not maintained? Because last time we were in here, lights are on, ABS, service engine soon. Why wasn't it not taken in the shop and brought to our attention how much it was gonna be to repair that? And I have no, one way or the other, but that should have been brought to our attention if it needed $5,000 to replace items in it, and then we make a decision, hey, is it feasible to repair this vehicle, or do we need to replace it, you know? Instead it was brought to our attention when, hey, we need a vehicle. I would have rather had it brought to our attention, and this is any department, hey, this is what it's gonna cost. Is it time, you know, kinda like Kevin does, hey, it's time, this vehicle is $350,000, it's time for replacement. I just don't wanna get blindsided, you know?
I agree.
Well, I think it has been properly maintained throughout the years. I think what's happening is they get the warning lights that do periodically come on and off, to get them checked and find out that they're just, whether it be a glitch in the dashboard or the warning lights themselves. but it's not an actual fixable problem that's, you know, oh yeah, you need to replace that part, or you need to, it's not gonna operate without this part. And, you know, it's more of an electronical issue that's been kind of a curse of that model of, and
There's a gremlin in there someplace.
Right, that GM has, you know, has identified that's very difficult to fix but it still operates, it just has, and so when those lights are on, you don't know whether or not it's telling you something that's actually a problem, or if you actually, yeah.
And it was bought at a state auction.
It was?
Yeah.
And it's, and part of.
What year, we don't know?
I don't know.
Beth, you know what year that vehicle was
Yes.
purchased?
The previous tax directors typically put in their budget each year, or when they need a different vehicle, so they have time the next year to look at surplus sales and that type of thing to get a used vehicle. That one was purchased at the state, it's a 2008. So that was my objective when this entire thing started, was I was just throwing the budget, you can cut it, you can let it in. We'll see what happens next year with finding something, because obviously there's not a lot in Devil's Lake to get right at the moment. But that kind of got changed up. I can wait a year, and see again next year. I have no problem. I just was following what has kind of been the typical scenario of a vehicle's at 100,000 miles. We usually kind of look into.
You use the vehicle?
Yes.
You take it out?
It's the only way for us to get around the entire county. We drive by everything in the county at least once, if not more, multiple times. We do all our measuring.
How many miles you get on the vehicle a year approximately?
You know, not terribly much.
10 or?
Yeah, probably supposed to be like that. It's
And
been
other than that,
okay.
it just sits right there.
Yeah, but we take it for all of our education and that to Bismarck, all of our training, we use it for that. Which lately hasn't been as much because we haven't had turnover, but when we do have new employees and they have to do so much certification, then we put a lot more time on it.
Chris, did they give you a value of trade-in on that, or was that something we just sell out?
That's the best vehicle, that's not mine.
Emergency management doesn't have a vehicle at all, right?
I have
It's
no.
been- yeah.
So-
The trade-in that I did receive was $3,600. Take it.
That's not even that bad.
Take it. So,
3,000?
but to be honest with you,
Yeah.
personally, unless it is financially a reason to get a new vehicle, I don't necessarily want a new vehicle. Where we're going is 3 feet of grass sometimes, and, you know, I drive through it because I've got to get there to see what's going on or what we need to do. So,
Looks like it's pretty light, it probably float over a lot of mud, huh?
yeah, we've survived so far. You know, and there's a
So
lot of
maybe-
bad roads.
Maybe a good option for you guys again would be looking at this, if you don't need something brand new, but something reliable, maybe look at a state fleet one.
And there is a sale coming up October 12th, and I did look into that because we were talking about today. Unfortunately, the vehicles there almost all had hail damage, and the few that just didn't fit. They all kind of had black miles and didn't fit what they needed.
There's no sense of buying a 15 or 18 or whatever it's at over there.
Yeah, with
Whether
the
it's
Sunrider.
or-
I mean, like our sheriff's department vehicles, they're on the road every single day and they get a pile of miles on them. Or the highway department vehicles.
Doesn't the sheriff have one right now, access? I think he said that.
He said he's got a vehicle or a pickup that's,
Access.
yep. But, it'd be a backup, but they use their vehicles pretty hard. And when he gets rid of them, he gets rid of them for a reason.
I know. Somebody relayed that to me, I guess.
125,000 miles and she's been run pretty hard, huh?
I will say one thing with the vehicle that we drive, it's somewhat important because we're going into people's yards, their homes, that
I think having
We
a
look-
professional,
professional, yeah, and not like I'm the sheriff coming in or something of that nature.
I don't do that.
Yeah, you know, that's a,
I'm not here to serve a warrant.
yeah,
I
I'm
swear.
not here to steal.
I'm just here to measure the basement.
Yeah.
That would be.
So that's one thing that I try to wear like our shirts that say something just so.
Yeah, so they know you're there and what your intent
Yeah.
and purpose is, that's reasonable.
Well, I think we have-
representing the county in a professional manner, I think is important.
Very important.
Keeping our employees' safety is utmost importance. and having a good, decent, reliable vehicle that they can traverse the county or the state with, is important.
Well, and all this discussion started obviously too with the emergency management, because we don't have an emergency management vehicle, and now with the drone work and everything else, Chris has been using his own personal vehicle. And,
So this vehicle would be between the two.
well, we're looking at two separate vehicles possibly.
Two separate vehicles.
So the emergency management vehicle would be more structured and set up kind of like a sheriff's department style vehicle where they're, you know, cause he has to have all the radios and all of those things in it for the emergency management, whereas tax director's office just needs to be a straight up whatever kind of SUV that you can get through grass and mud and things such.
I think we're looking at two different deals.
Yeah. But I wanted to put it on the agenda so at least we could start thinking about which way we wanna go when costs incurred and things like that. And then, again, the intent would be bring it out of the original COVID dollars, cause we still have $300 and some thousand, I think, sitting there. So we could easily, do one, both, as need be.
So, Chris, do you have an idea of what additional equipment would be needed and required?
I do, the upfitting you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yep, I do have that. That isn't cheap, and of course,
right,
because we don't have anything, we're buying all brand new. The biggest aspect of it is radios.
yeah.
A full radio, just the head unit and speaker, is $9,000. And that's Motorola. Granted, we get a $1,500 kickback,
Yeah. Thanks, Steve.
but to make it into a command unit, basically, it needs 2 radios, so it's hard to be fair. I mean, I do have a radio budget, and I can take some of that money out of there. But the lock box, truck box, whatever you wanna call it, you know, those are like $7,000. That's what they overcharge us first responders.
So how much money are you looking to need to be?
So, I was gonna give you guys these, but they're expired, so I didn't wanna give you guys expired bid sheets.
I just give a rough estimate of what you're thinking you're gonna need to make it.
So with the vehicle and the outfit, 70 would be probably up, but that'd be the very top, I think. Here's one of the outfits, 28 grand. Yeah,
What's
But-
that?
that's for outfitting the vehicle.
Yeah.
70 plus the 28?
No, 50 with the vehicle and then 28 with the upfitting. And there's some fat to trim on these numbers, there really is, on the 28. And I was trying to get 2 companies to bid the exact same thing, but certain ones won't do that, so that becomes difficult. One would bid the whole unit without no radios, so then their bid looks super low. And one bid out the biggest or baddest radio, which I didn't want, so that's what they bid. So then the numbers look a little inflated as well. But that would be a buffer zone, I would say.
70. No?
70 would be the easy
When you're
buffer.
talking these radios, are we gonna run into the same issues like we do with, the sheriff upgrading and all that?
These will be the new ones,
Generation, yeah,
but the hard part is getting them now.
yeah.
Sheriffs have the same problem.
Just out of curiosity, Kevin, when we bought your Expedition you drive, do you recall what we paid for that? That would be kinda comparable to a Tahoe.
Well, it's a 17, but it was probably about 36.
Okay, so 50 is probably not completely out of the realm then for what we're looking at for considering how the inflation has happened in vehicles.
And that's, as you guys can see on the paperwork too, that's even with the fleet discount and our county discount. I mean, that's roughly what's coming in.
Yeah, and like this top one, it's pretty much base. It's an LS, so that's the baseline model. I think the only thing it's got is it's got a little bit bigger wheel on it or something like that, just a bigger tire.
Okay, let me ask this. It's gonna sit in the parking lot then, or?
Oh, I'll drive it every day. I'll put my truck out in the shop.
Well, and I think with your job being, 24/7, it'd probably be something that you would drive all the time, wouldn't it?
Yep, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would use
Just
it
like
no
Kevin-
different than Kevin
just
does,
like
traverse
Kevin
from
does.
home and back to work and then use it during work hours and then drive your personal vehicle when you're on personal
Sure.
time, or the sheriff's department does.
Yep.
And that makes sense, I mean, basically, you have to be at the whim of an emergency response time. You don't know when, that hydrous tank or something could go crazy and it
Right.
might be 3 a.m, so you don't wanna drive here and
I'm
drive
used to those
there.
calls.
Yeah, river crossing, God knows what.
Well, a lot of it is taking this into consideration.
And we have a little bit of time, it wasn't like it had to be done today, it was more a matter of let's bring it to the attention of the commission, so we know kind of where we're moving and where the field was, in terms of do we wanna do it now, or do we wanna try to do a full bid and wait and see if we can get it for however many months from now.
I would like if it could be done, if I can find one that's gonna be fitting within this price range and upfitted, if that would be okay, because even the upfit's gonna take a long time. I think Steve waited 6 months for, get that window in to get his outfitted.
When's the state bid?
The state out.
State bid?
State fleet auction.
There is one in, October on
There's
the twelfth,
nothing
but
on
it
that
didn't
one,
look like, no, so.
Yeah, they usually do 4
Two
to
a year,
2
Kevin,
a year.
I think?
Was it only
It
2
didn't
a
look
year?
like anything on there that,
No, I bet 90% of it had hail damage.
We don't want
So,
those.
they didn't wanna get in.
They got hail damage?
Yeah, they all were.
Well, they help. And I think part of it, talking about Lindsay, was a point on the upkeep and maintenance stuff. When you get into the larger counties, they have fleets. So they have somebody that, in the highway department or whatever, that's their job, is basically taking care of the vehicles and stuff. But when we have such small departments and everything like that, it just, you're taking time out of when you should be doing the tax director's job to, go get the vehicle looked at. It's not bad here, you take it over to Lake Chevy and have it looked at, but it's still, you're trying your best with what you got,
and I would like to see that, I know Beth's gonna use it the most, but if somebody else in the county has to use it, that we
And
can
I've
make
always-
a,
Make it a
plan.
shared vehicle type thing. Yeah.
I've always-
Sometimes Nathan's gotta run over to the bank, I think
It's a good idea.
that he should be able to use it, or we gotta.
I've never declined anyone that's.
No, no, but if we could
Well,
just,
still.
if you get it, yeah,
Well, that'd be good, it'd be kind of like the one pool vehicle
yeah,
for anybody that needs it, but mostly
mostly her,
Mostly-
yeah,
mostly
that's
that's
fine.
office.
Beth, this was the only one that you got priced,
It's the only one that they had available. I looked on the
as
web,
far as like Chevy, Dodge,
I just called the general manager,
Oh.
same person he was working with.
Oh, for the whole Devil's Lake
Yeah.
cars, and this is basically what they have.
Yeah. In the size range that we're looking,
Oh, yeah,
the
and-
SUV, four-wheel drive, that type
And
of thing.
Acadia would be similar
Acadia
to,
Traverse, kind of like that.
similar to the
what
Trailblazer, yeah.
Would be that type of vehicle. I'm sure there could be other things, and that is not that was just yesterday, that's not, like I said, I wouldn't mind waiting and seeing. The market maybe isn't the best right now, and I have no problem with that.
Is there something like that's sitting there in the parking lot that you?
I kind of glanced through yesterday, I didn't really know that this was until yesterday that we were having this discussion, but I even went to some of the other the used dealers in town, and their miles were higher,
Okay.
kind of seemed like one of those cars, so it didn't make sense to make that change.
Well, I think the problem
This
too is,
isn't that price though, for
Yeah.
a new one.
It really isn't.
No,
With
I don't
warranty.
think so either.
yeah, with the warranty, and part of it's gonna be is that stuff on the lots is gonna be harder to find in a lower LS type or one, because most of the time when people are buying into vehicles, they're buying something with a little bit upgraded, not necessarily high top end, but leather and all that kind of stuff. So every vehicle, out of 20 vehicles ordered, there's probably only 2 of them that are ordered at more of a fleet level, so finding a fleet one if we don't buy it new or buy from the state is probably gonna be slightly more difficult on, because local dealers aren't gonna bring those in generally unless somebody wants to buy them that way. Okay,
I think we should move ahead with,
I do too, yeah.
yeah,
I think we need to take care of our own people and.
yeah.
Make sure it has block heating in it.
that's a good point.
Well, block heaters is important in neck of the woods.
My dad's voice is in my head.
Yeah, get a block heater.
And you have to order one of these?
Those ones are coming, I mean, I have a few more bids coming from other dealerships as well.
Okay.
I would like something probably not of those colors and not with a 22-inch wheel sets. I don't know which one you're looking at, but the one comes with an upgraded wheel package, which I'm not really sold on.
Yeah.
But,
You know, the fancy stuff.
they are supposedly coming,
Yeah.
yeah,
But you're waiting on a couple other bids too. How long are these bids good for?
30 days.
Okay, so within our next meeting time frame, if you could get those other bids too.
I have, if you guys want, if I can pass these around, I got these last night, I didn't even have a chance to get them, set out to you guys. But one of these is actually, more what I was looking at, it is truly a base model. It is the top one.
So, I can tell you
It's
right now,
comparable.
the bait isn't gonna matter. It happened to him.
But we have it in writing though, now. You didn't have it in writing,
I didn't have
right?
a contract,
You
I
didn't
have
have it in writing.
an agreement.
Well, two, is these are ones that are gonna be priced coming. I mean, they're in the pipeline, they're supposed to be on the lot shortly, so the price should be good. Versus again, yeah, if we order something and we don't put it in writing, it
I'm
could
just
be,
making sure that we have
That's
something in
Yep.
writing,
Absolutely.
So-
so it isn't
where's this bid
like
from?
what happened with.
This is, these two are from Rydell. I believe it's the Chevrolet, there's a Chevrolet and a GMC built, bid on that one. It was the Chevrolet I was kind of leaning towards. It would fit the ideology of like Steve's fleet, just black, basic. Yeah, it's right in there.
And I don't think, it's not gonna be as big an issue as it was for Kevin, because Kevin, you were looking for a 3/4 ton, a certain, narrowing it
Long
down.
box,
a lot
big
more.
cab.
Right.
Rydell doesn't do a fleet discount?
That is the
Doesn't do a
discount.
fleet discount.
Yep.
I don't know if-
Okay, there's the dollars there and then there's the reduction,
I
okay.
don't know
Yeah,
if
sorry.
we're willing to go out of town for a couple
no.
$1,000.
No,
I think we should buy in town, these are our taxpayers. The same,
This is
I agree.
right now.
that's Rydell.
no,
That's right now. One of our package is from in town, right?
Yep.
Uh,
That this is
Maybe
from
I'll
Lake
see if they
Lake
can do
Channel.
a dealer trade.
never know.
I can ask. I'll ask. I'd like to keep the business local, so hopefully they
I
can
would
make a
too.
dealer trade.
Yeah. Well, since we have it just as discussion, should we have it come back?
I think we should put it on the agenda for the next meeting as unfinished business, come back with additional information on it from both of you, and then we can figure out where we'd like to go. I think that's reasonable. But the discussion has been forward to, we wanna do something, it's just a matter of, let's figure out.
Is there a reason why we're going Chevrolet and not Ford?
Kind of a GM man, I guess.
I'm just asking, but
Well, you talked to the general manager there though too, and they didn't have any Fords or Dodges, I would assume.
Right, that was kind
It's
of,
just what they had coming.
yeah, and that's the hard part is what's coming in, so if, Ford wants to bid out a Navigator, I mean, that's a different than an LS, I guess.
Right.
Okay.
And it's the hard thing is just what their dealerships, they're waiting on a bunch and what's actually coming. And I know the faster they hit the lot, chance of it selling is probably pretty good.
What's
That's kind of why I wanted to, if I could nail it down, at least maybe put a down payment on it or something to hold it.
It's kinda crazy that they still bring in new vehicles that aren't spoken for.
They're selling vehicles that aren't even hitting the lots.
Right.
Yeah, it's just, yeah,
I don't know how that's done.
it's kinda crazy they built stuff without it being spoken for though, it's kinda crazy.
So Beth, this one's on the lot,
No, I think that's,
That one's in transit too.
this one is too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
That
I
was
thought maybe it was on the lot.
Yeah, that one's also 30
I had
days.
to follow up on that.
So we've only got 2 weeks till our next meeting, try to compile a little more information and figure it out, and then we can probably talk about it at our meeting on the 6th. Okay, that good with everyone?
Yep,
Okay,
I like it.
okay, very good. Thanks.
Thank you both.
do you want this one back, Chris?
Okay,
Okay.
from there, I'm gonna look and see if we got anything. Doesn't look like it. Visitors and delegations. No one. Announcements from anyone?
Looking at the ad for, does everybody understand the process of selecting an engineer? For this generator, what we're looking for is an engineering firm, right? So, I mean, it says on here, bids should be submitted, it's not really a bid, it's like a proposal for, okay, my firm can do this.
So like an RFP.
Yeah, proposal.
They're just gonna hand you their bill.
Yeah, the bill won't come in, yeah, right. I mean, it'll be up to the engineer to put together a spec sheet that he hands to the contractors, and then you get your bid.
So we're hiring an engineer to make sure that everything is engineered correctly, then they'll go out and actually bid it for us off of the specs, and then we'll get, yeah.
Just so everybody understands that process.
So basically that engineer is,
So
so that
let's
you
make
go
sure it's
back
your
and say,
correct.
this is what was engineered.
Yeah.
That's basically all it is. So that when they hire a contractor, you can go back and say, this was the blueprint that you needed to follow because this is what the engineer said.
Right.
Make sure we don't burn the building down.
And it'll also be up
So
to
you have
that,
some accountability is basically.
it's also up to that
Stamp
engineer
plans.
to make sure that contractor is doing exactly, it's not up to us. I
Right.
mean, we can say, hey, maybe we wanna change this or whatever, but it is up to that engineer to say you're doing this wrong, you gotta change
Right.
it.
Well, that engineer's just gonna hand you your bill.
Yeah, you're right.
You're not gonna negotiate with them.
You're just looking for proposals to see how qualified.
No, the negotiation happens when we get the
It's a
proposal.
subcontract of a subcontract.
Usually isn't it a percentage of the bid price?
Used to be that way, but
Or is he
Not
just-
always.
Now they're so busy.
Well, I think if you guys, between you and Kevin, if you'd like to visit with Roger about it, and make sure that it's, cause you've been this many times for engineers work, make sure it's worded right, talk with Roger, make sure we got it right. We just approve putting it in the paper, just, you guys make sure you got the wording on it correct, and I think
You're
we're
not,
comfortable.
you're not negotiating with that engineer for his money, his own money.
Right.
Yeah,
He's gonna hand you the bill, that's what it's gonna be.
I would say if, have Kevin take a look at this too and see if there's changes that need to be made, and then talk to Roger about it, and we should be okay.
Just watching out that we're buying the right thing.
Well, yeah, we just wanna make sure it's clear too what we're attempting to do with getting those, not bids, but
Yeah.
RFPs basically, so. Yeah. Okay, any other announcements?
I have one here, we have 2 CDs coming out the end of this week. Interest rate has gone up a little bit. Kate wanted to know if we wanna put anything more in municipal funds, of course, that's doing okay. I'm just kinda leaving discussion up for it, unless we wanna just run a CD so we have the money on hand, because once you put it in the municipal bonds, you kinda wanna leave it there for a while. But
This is, are these 6 months or a year?
I've had them in for a year at 0.30. I mean, it's been better than just leaving them in a money market.
What is that?
Right now, like Friday, when I'm gonna talk to him, if we do another 12 months, it's at 1.25.
Oh, not bad.
And they're $1 million a piece.
There's my farm operating's now up like 2%.
The key is if we're gonna need it or not, you won't.
Well,
So that's six months at one,
Do
two,
one
or
or
a
you're
year?
gonna leave one out.
we got 6 months is at 1.10,
Okay. And how much money are we talking that we'd be putting back in possibly?
2 million,
2 million?
$1 million a piece.
So
We
you're
do
getting,
have,
you're getting a tenth of a percent to put in
Yeah.
for another.
but we still have $1.5 million sitting at Bremer just in savings because
This is my question.
we
Interest
never
rates
know
going
what's,
up.
a bill's gonna come
To be
up,
honest
but
with you, I think we're better off doing a 6 month, I have a feeling they're gonna go up again.
Well, they're talking another 0.75% hike when the Fed meets again, so if that's the
So
case,
for-
the interest rates on.
3 months is 0.95, I don't,
No, I'm saying if you're.
Put them both
looking
in, put them both in 6 months and
And then
Six
we
months.
And then
look
maybe
at
we
that
re-up
6
them in
what do you
6
think,
months
Jim?
if the interest
For
rate
that
goes up.
tenth, are we better off to, so that we can, if it goes up 0.75%, now we go over.
I don't think you wanna tie it too long because the market's gonna move up, I think, on the interest rates.
I, you're seeing it move.
But I think we should just, municipal bonds, we should just hang on, I mean.
You mean
whatever
in the big structure we have, right, the other
Yeah,
one?
instead of putting more in.
Well, I think that's up to you as the treasurer. But-
I mean, and I do think that,
Wait,
come
There's gonna
December.
be a tax hike tomorrow, or is it today?
The interest rate hike? I can't remember, it's
And
coming
this isn't
quickly,
due until Friday, I'm coming back in on Friday.
2 more weeks, we'll have another one.
quite possible.
Well,
Gonna go
maybe
up.
we should just put it in
Gonna
savings
go up,
for
gonna go
a
up.
month or so and just see where we're
Well,
at.
yeah, that might be worthwhile too, if we think the interest rate hike is gonna come quickly.
Yeah.
We'll sit on it for
I
just a
think-
little bit.
I think the key after the election should go crazy, that's what I think.
Up,
Possible.
up,
That's why I'm saying
Fuel will
not
go
tie it
up,
for a year.
gas will go up, everything will go
oh
up.
boy,
As long as soybeans go up too.
yeah.
No, I'm keeping on that one.
We wanna be able to have options.
As long as I can
I
get.
Right.
don't know if putting it in the savings is the best thing, I think you wanna lock it in for a 6-month period.
We can do that, I
I
mean,
mean, we were only at, what did you say,
After
310?
the election.
0.3, yeah, 0.30,
Going from there to
right.
making money.
And the other one looks pretty good, municipal bonds looks good, but it's like, do we wanna tire up?
Kicker is you're not really making any money because
Wait till after the election, I'm serious.
8% back.
Maybe we should save
It
it.
will. It will.
Oh, maybe put one in and hold the other one or
Yeah.
hedge risk.
This,
Yeah, that would half risk, I guess.
Not risk. Let's gamble a little.
Yeah, no, I think that be a prudent way to do it.
50.
They don't get anything in savings, eh?
A little bit.
Well, it hasn't been too bad, it's been okay.
They,
And of course, yeah, and of course that ARPA money, I know, well, that's kind of all our money anyway, but at one time they said we could take the savings off and throw it in the general fund. I don't know,
The interest.
the interest part of it, yeah, the interest.
Yeah.
At least we're gaining a little something off it then, just sitting there.
Yeah,
So, Chamber met yesterday at noon, some big, events coming up, they have their annual meeting on the 19th of October at the Elks Lodge, and it's gonna be a celebration of business and community. 4:30 to 7:30, they'll give out their chamber awards, I think there's a doodle survey being sent out to chamber members for, your nomination or recognition of various businesses, chamber member, through durations of being in business, a 1 to 25 year, 26 to 50 year type of business. Longevity, they're doing smaller business, chamber awards, small business, 1 to 10 employee type of thing. They're doing a woman minority chamber member award and kind of a celebration of community and business. 4:30 to 7:30 on the 19th of October. Holiday showcase is scheduled for the Memorial Building November 15th. Never too soon to start your Christmas shopping. And yeah, so they'll have a board changeover come their annual meeting recognition as well. So, and I think it was Peter Jerome will be leaving as the outgoing president, and Wood will be the new president, K.L. Strummy will be the immediate past president, Jack Yonkers will be the vice chairman, and Tara Erickson will be the secretary treasurer. And they're having electrical issues with the West End outlet again. He seems to be an ongoing theme with the outlets this summer, is there's one problem or another, and every time the West End gets reduced or shut down, then they have to do something similar on the East End in order to balance the water quality. And so the movement of water downstream has been extremely limited and very frustrating. from this aspect of things. And I think it's a high time maybe we stand up and say something, because it's getting very aggravating. That they continue to operate that in a fashion that doesn't meet our needs. You know, I think that East End outlet was engineered and designed to operate at a certain threshold, and it's never operated at that threshold that it was designed to operate at. And it has the capabilities of moving some serious quantities of water if they let it talk. But they haven't been willing to do so. And they've had a lot of institutional knowledge leave at the State Water Commission level. So knowing how to adjust those flows and meet water quality constraints that are set forth in the Red River and at the Canadian border. You know, we're far exceeding those expectations, so we should be able to
Crank her up a little bit.
crank it up a little bit and still meet the thresholds that are placed upon us. So, but I mean, it's fearful. I know we've had a very dry summer and the fall thus far, but that doesn't mean that we're not an event away from filling up again. So keep on reminding and asking and pushing, but that's all we can do, I guess.
Keep up the good fight.
Right.
Okay, any further announcements?
If the water's so bad in Delta Lake, how come it's one of the premier fisheries in the Midwest? Shut off the west end and let's open the east end as much as it can go. Be careful.
But the water awards, the state awards, the Commodore Award, the Water Wheel, those things they're seeking nominations for that, as well as our Devils Lake Basin Water Stewardship Award. Those awards will be given out December 8th in Bismarck at the annual joint conferences of the Water Worlds, when we meet and get together down there. So we generally have an award banquet that Thursday night of the conference. I think last year, I think we got together and nominated Governor Dalrymple on some of his efforts that he had during our flooding, and he was commended with the highest award that the Water World presents. I think that's the Commodore Award. And so if we have any other ideas for nominations, whether it be a local award through the Devils Lake Basin, through a state award through the North Dakota Water Wheel, Commodore, we have those nomination forms available.
Okay. Reminder too, Association of Counties meeting just before we meet again, so October 2nd, correct? What time is our caucus at?
2:40?
2:40. So, if anybody's attending, remember, caucus at 2:40.
I'll have to check that again.
Yeah.
But,
Should email those.
yeah.
Is that on Sunday?
Yes,
Sunday?
caucus on Sunday afternoon, yeah, probably, yeah. I have to work the football game on Saturday. Yeah, I'll go out on Sunday at some point, I don't know when. Depends on if freezing weather is coming, I'll probably end up winterizing my camper Sunday night before I come down and get there.
Sunday is 2:45.
2:45?
Board gathering.
I think we have a very good contingent from Ramsey County, so I
Should be good.
think everybody that's signed up and willing to take time out and go,
Yep.
got worthwhile information.
Raise a little cane. We wanna talk about since we had Roger come back in.
Yeah.
It was just noted, Roger, that, instead of calling it a bid, we should call it maybe an RFP.
RFP or proposal.
Yeah,
I mean,
Proposal?
yeah,
that's all.
Alright.
not trying to stick my nose into your business.
Okay.
Trying to cover everybody's budget.
that way you put it as a proposal, and then they will get it after the fact. You're just going after an engineer, right? Sure.
Seeking proposals from engineers for yeah, just change bids to proposals basically, and we should be covered then, right? Okay, that should be good. Okay, any further business for the good of the order? Seeing none? We are adjourned.